Forget that you are here to awaken. Forget that awakening is the purpose of the human experience. Let's go 10 levels deeper and try to crack the code of what awakening really represents in the human collective field. So many people look at awakening as the optimal outcome of a spiritual journey. Like they can get to a point at which they are awakened, and that creates this entitled view of themselves as an awakened one. The first logical fallacy with this assumption alone is that you can get to a point in time when you are fully awakened, because in reality it's a journey that never ends. When you start to feel like you are awakening, that's actually the beginning of the journey. That's the moment when you see yourself at that point of inception in your own field of awareness that is unfolding. You start to access the ability to continue unfolding your consciousness, which means you're no longer in a dormant state of simply accumulating information and feeling that your potential is limited by more experiences. When you start to awaken, you start to recognize that life is like this blooming onion, providing you ever more layers through expansive learning opportunities, new encounters with fate, different parts of yourself you experience a connection to in your outer reality, and new information entering your mental, emotional, and physical bodies of consciousness, which lets you better understand yourself. That then means that the more you experience reality and the more in touch you become through reality, the more awakened you feel. But that doesn't mean you can ever be fully awakened. Because if you are here, you are by very nature of that, learning yourself through perpetual awakening experiences. Another paradox is that many people enter the world in a more awakened state than they depart from this human experience. Because many approach life as the accumulation of more layers of density, attachments, lower level needs, and egoic fixations that remove themselves from this more awakened state, which is a higher frequency state of being. When you contact the potentiality of your consciousness, you are already feeling yourself in a state of awakening. And actually, you're already awakened in the etheric realm, because that's what your higher self is. Your higher self is the future awakened version of you, the most integrated version of yourself that already went through everything that you are now experiencing on this pathway of awakening. Your higher self can help you reverse engineer why it is that you need to awaken, because it's showing you through the accordion of universal possibilities that everything you're now experiencing is aligning you with what you need to integrate in order to access your more integrated, awakened self. The interesting thing is that you don't need more time and more experiences necessarily to feel more awakened. You don't need more permission coming from mistakes, people validating you, or different circumstances that cause you to witness yourself struggling if you're choosing not to surrender to the awakened information of your higher self. What you need to begin to realize is that you have the capacity to connect to this awakened self all the time. You just need to trust and confide in that version of you that's already experiencing the accumulation of all of the awareness that you need to be learning in this reality. This then means that a deeper way to approach awakening is not as this journey that leads to a definite outcome, but as a loop. Awakening is an undefined continuum of experience. It's universal experience that is flooding through you as one individual unit of consciousness so that you can learn how to make the most of it. Awakening is bestowing you with the opportunity in this lifetime to get closer to your higher self, which inevitably you will coincide with. But you won't get there simply by surrendering, simply by submitting to the present moment, simply by choosing to quantum jump into a state that your mind tells you is the most awakened possibility you can have access to. Because whether you're choosing to surrender yourself to the degree that you lose sense of the purpose of the human experience, or you're choosing to fixate on yourself as somebody who has already awakened and who is entitled to do anything because of this newfound form of self-righteousness through the awakening that you think you already have access to, you're choosing to delude yourself by not taking most advantage of what the experience of life affords you. This brings us to the question, why are we really here? Why do we even need to go through this reverse engineering of soulful awareness by falling into a state of amnesia when we're just born? Why do we as a higher self need to stupidify ourselves and come into a baseline experience in which we forget who we are, We forget what our soul knows. We forget about our universal lessons in order to try and reattain that awareness in the third dimensional playing field. A deep way to look at this is to realize that life is all about application. That's the beauty and challenge of the third dimensional experience. We are here to make use of our awareness, to reaccess it, to trust it, to surrender to it, and to apply it. If you already feel that you are awakened, meaning that maybe you've already incarnated with certain awareness that makes you feel you are awakened. Maybe you've had certain awakening experiences that allow you to feel you are in touch with what your soul knows at the highest level. Or maybe you feel that you have been given certain clarity about things through various life circumstances that you now have to make use of. In all of these cases, you're tasked with actually applying all of this awakening knowledge, because that is ultimately why you're here. A lot of people who feel they're awakened don't really want to make the appropriate use of their awakening knowledge, which can lead to obvious challenges. Because if you're not making use of your own awakened insight, you're choosing to slow down your evolution and regress into a state of a less integrated self. If you come into this world with a certain degree of awareness about your true self, your true abilities, your true desires, tendencies, feelings, and spiritual beliefs, then as soon as you start to disown those genuine feelings, needs, desires, and beliefs, you are choosing to fall into the more unawakened version of yourself. You are regressing into a state of less association with the divine self by becoming more programmed and conditioned, which is just the nature of this 3D reality. Now, it's not necessarily your fault that you are being conditioned or that you are declining in spiritual awareness. It is due to different factors in the environment and due to circumstances of the 3D reality which test your ability to return to your awakened self-realization. But then that brings us to the question, how can you do that? How can you trust more in your soul's awareness and in the awakened higher self than in the unawakened third dimensional self that now is full of these different limiting beliefs, fears, damaging conditional programs, and attachments which challenge your ability to stay in an awakened state all the time? Now we're getting closer to the point. If you feel like awakening is a difficult experience, meaning in order to stay in your awakened state of consciousness where you're true to yourself, and you're allowing yourself to confide in this higher dimensional awareness that you have access to at all times, then you're actually contacting the resistance of your egoic mind. Your ego doesn't want you to experience a truly awakened reality because a lot of its convictions are based on the unawakened self, learning to avoid self-trust, avoid self-love, avoid choosing to lean into the intuition, and to trust the heart, because the ego is run by all these different conditional programs which represent the no self, the lack of a true self, which is really just connected to the mental field of reality and all of the projections about what other people want you to do, say, be, and represent in the world. If you're afraid of awakening, you're afraid of really knowing yourself. And on the contrary, if you feel that you are awakened, then you better feel that you know yourself so deeply that you're willing to take all of your awareness and to allow yourself to live a life transparent, inside and out, to make optimal use of all of this awareness that you have. If this isn't happening, then you're quite literally lying to yourself and falsifying your awareness, because if it's only something you partially live by, you aren't really choosing to be awakened. This is why, if you already feel that you have a certain degree of awakening experiences and insight in your field, you're going to be tested even more strongly than some of the people that seem to lack this awareness altogether. Because awakening and self-awareness comes with a certain degree of responsibility. Once you start awakening and you start seeing beyond the veil of the 3D reality, you start breaking the rules of the matrix and you choose not to conform and to truly be yourself, then you need to really be yourself. You can't just halfway achieve this kind of an outcome of self-actualization. Once you start to realize that life is full of different illusions that you don't want to abide by, then you need to choose a path of radical integrity. You need to choose to be completely honest with yourself, to cut out the connections that no longer serve you, to make life decisions that align you with your truth, with your value system, to work in a job that allows you to fully experience your true self, and to be the amalgamation of all these different feelings that you've been cultivating, both from a place of intrinsic knowing and gradual realization that you have been awakening to. Awakening is the feeling of living life as a lucid dreamer, realizing that you are here in a dreamlike state of being in which you are experiencing an altered state of your own consciousness, a state in which the frame rate is diminished so that you can experience only a part of yourself to learn to apply yourself in particular ways. This is so that you don't access all possibilities at once and you hone into the most important things that you're meant to work on. At a soul level, you're here to work through the remaining aspects of different karmic lessons, different soulful experiences that haven't been fully synthesized and processed, and other elements that you need to learn and integrate in order to free yourself from the need to toil away in the 3D realm without realizing the true capacity of your higher self. If you are on the journey of awakening and life feels difficult, then you aren't allowing yourself to surrender to what the awakened information is allowing you to experience. If you resist awakening, or you resist becoming the best version of yourself, you're going to create a struggle in your life. You're going to maintain this narcissistic imprint of disassociating from your true self because you're afraid of the commitment that awakening really entails. Awakening is choosing to no longer submit to the illusions, because once you see them, you can no longer unsee them. And if you try to maintain the smoke and mirrors reality of your ego, you're going to feel like you are actually blindsiding yourself and preventing your evolution, which means rejecting opportunities for true love, connection, and a value-rich existence, which is always going to be offered to you in some shape or form, but that you can always choose to either align with or reject entirely. Many people experience partial awakening experiences in which the universe shows you a peek into that higher state of consciousness. This might be through psychedelics, a powerful relationship, an encounter with destiny, miracles, different spontaneous shifts in consciousness, or experiences that defy your mind's control and show you there's more to the matrix and to reality than meets the eye. However, the question is, what do you do with the sense of enlightenment that you temporarily contact? Do you choose to become attached to this state of enlightenment as a permanent experience when it was really just a glimpse that was offered to you into a higher dimensional space, which you can now choose to cultivate by raising your frequency consistently? You cannot experience your awakened self unless you choose to equalize with the frequency of that awakening knowledge, which means whatever you're holding in your physical body, in your energetic field, in your mental field, that feels like it's a lower density source of information, needs to be disintegrated, understood, and released in order for you to cultivate space for this higher state of awareness. So think about what you're currently retaining, which doesn't allow you to feel at ease and at peace with yourself. What is creating the deeper fragmentation? What makes you feel like you're not capable of achieving joy, connection, love, and a deeper purpose in this reality? There may be something that you're at odds with simply because you're choosing not to embrace what your awakening insight is actually encouraging you to do. If you are just thinking your way through awakening, you are not choosing to actualize a true action state of being in a more awakening state. Because true awakening comes through your application of everything you think you know about it. As soon as you think that you're awakened, you need to test yourself to understand, how much do you really uphold these values that you think you live by? And what happens when you try to push yourself out of the comfort zone of everything your mind has been dictating is the only way to live your life? Awakening could be a hamster wheel in which you're always finding more ways to soothe yourself and to pacify negative emotions, but in reality, the need to pacify anything indicates that you're not living in a truly free-spirited and self-loving manner. So awakening never really ends. And when you think you've awakened, you're really at the precipice of a journey of exploring your soul and coming to self-realize in all the ways that awakening forces you to understand yourself as an extension of God, going on a journey, learning all of the reasons why your reality is the way that it is and why the world is the way that it is, so that you can better understand yourself and why you're here. And if any one of those aspects is missing or not integrated, then life will throw you into more awakening experiences so that you can see what you're choosing to resist between you and your own higher self. And until that gap is reconciled, you will be experiencing this path in a never-ending spiral, which must point to the intention of leaving the simulation, leaving the illusion of mind, and coming home to the truth that was always existent in you and that you must learn to connect with.